Today's conversation with someone who has played a major role in my life and my business journey. Kevin Hennessy grew up in Aurelia, worked at Weber's, and went to the U.S. on a golf scholarship, a chapter that shaped his competitive mindset and discipline early on. From there, he went on to dominate the corporate world at a young age. He held roles in mergers and acquisitions at Koch Industries, worked in corporate finance in Kansas City, and eventually became the VP of Strategy and Finance at Hallmark Canada, essentially the CFO, overseeing multi-million-dollar deals, acquisitions, investments, and global debt. He then made the decision most people in corporate leadership never make. He left that world to take a chance on a startup built around hockey lace sandals, summer skates. I had sourced 3,000 pairs between semesters in college and sold them wherever I could. Kevin got a pair, reached out, and pitched the idea that we could turn this into a real business. Saying yes to that meeting changed everything. Together, we built summer skates from an idea to the #1 custom sports slide sandal in North America. Over 500,000 pairs sold. We learned how to do everything. Trade shows, retail, failed retail accounts, manufacturing, licensing, Shopify, Facebook ads, Instagram contests, agencies that worked, agencies that didn't work, traveling random cities across the US, NHL partnerships, playoff launches, NHL awards and all-star games, strategy talks in airports and hotel lobbies, wins, mistakes, laughs, stress, and belief. These were the most formative years of business building of my life. Kevin is sharp, thoughtful, energetic, and he cares deeply. And today we're going to tell his story. Welcome to the show.
All right, let's go. Well said.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Growing up in Aurelia. What is life like growing up in Aurelia back then?
Pretty good. I mean, being in a family where I had 4 older sisters, that was kind of a mistake, Definitely learned some of my strategy by being probably a good mama's boy, you know what I mean? I grew up in a house that my parents had bought when they had their first, my sister Carrie, and never moved. So the house I lived in, unbelievably, was, great home. Everything was awesome, but it was like a 3-bedroom house with a bathroom, right? And in Aurelia there, my parents in the teaching sort of side. And when you do the math, that left me without a room. Yeah. So I think I learned to, I have no idea. It's one of those things that I just know it was great, but it was kind of that weird thing. But so I think that was interesting, just being in a family that had my dad, big sports guy, and always reinforcing of like taking a challenge, go after stuff, do it right, do it well. Yeah. So I think that's where the fire kind of comes from. And then the social from my mom, who was kind of that way. So that's where I kind of came out of, and then this interesting environment, right? Yeah. And so I think flash forward, like for my family, of my sisters and myself, all ended up with grad degrees, from not like just a house, like you just think where you started. Yeah. And then involved in the community, my parents, all things like that. So I think that's where that thoughtful sort of side, or that caring side, and I have that emotional side of whether it's greatness in sports or if it's for something or someone, how doing things right, you know what I mean? Definitely comes from that. Yeah, like so competitiveness in there, and then as well, thoughtful and caring. Kind of, you have a mix of like the IQ side of it and the EQ side of life. And I remember you always told me the story of working at Weber's Burgers. Tell me about working at Weber's at a young age. The famous Weber's. Oh my gosh, yeah. So again, sisters before me all worked there. So then it's my turn, and in the I guess it was the 8th grade. I went from the 6th to the 8th grade. So it would have been my 7th grade, but I was in the 8th grade already. But so you start outside on the bags and clean tables, and you work. Next thing you know, you've spent 10 years and you're graduating university and you work all that time. But no, the best thing is you're at a place where, as an insane extrovert, you just have so much action, right? So my ADHD kind of stuff, right? So it was beauty. And then you have all your best buddies, because everybody wanted to work there. So it's almost like a resume. Like you had to have something that you were doing kind of on something, like athlete, work, school, whatever the balance was. So it was a coveted place to work. They probably paid the best. Yeah. And at a young age, they always had like big social events. So, I mean, you're in the 8th grade, 9th grade, and you learned a lot. Yeah. Like it was on like speed with people that are kind of on top of everything. So whether it was parties or events, you name it, and driven too, like super driven people. So that was pretty cool. Like even like Craig Farr, for example, who worked there, and Farsky. And there's so many examples. This Queens guy, and he goes to New York, and one of the top guys in his game with Solly. And flash forward, I graduate from my MBA at Dal, going to school in the U.S., And Farsky is told that he's allowed to bring one person in to interview for the job against all the American guys. And it's associate level. So that's normally like 3 years out type of thing, gone back, did your grad and come in. So I'm already the only Canadian, but also that weird thing. So I interviewed for the whole thing and basically got it.
Yeah.
And I turned it down. So it's like, that was through Weber's.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing is this is a Weber's guy that made it big. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's so many connections.
It's like this hub, but it's a burger spot off the highway. You know, like it's crazy how, talented, driven people all kind of magnetic to this one burger place off the side of the highway.
And the reason why though is, so this is funny, but so this business side for anybody listening, like the real secrets of a lot of things are in the fringe or the kind of out of the box in that cheesy kind of way. Usually that's about a product or something. But on this one, the reason Weber's, like from the start of senior to junior and why it worked is senior always acknowledged this, was the washrooms at Weber's, whatever they were, because it's changed over time with different like train cars and stuff. But every like 5 minutes, I think it is, the bathroom, the stalls and whatever on the guy's side for girls, but you know what I mean? They're cleaned. So the burgers, people have a lot of opinions on that and the food and all that stuff. They can't argue the grounds are nice and it's halfway between where you left from and to whatever. But when you're halfway in between and you grabbed your Timmy's on the highway or when you left your house, your drinks, you somebody in a troop of 4, 5 going to college needs to go bathroom. So if there's half of that's female on average, right? Then for us on the guy's side, we probably don't value that as much. But the one who might make the decision on a good weekend, you're going up all the time, says, well, we're stopping there. Because I you know what I mean? Like, so the secret behind Weber's honestly is that.
Yeah. Such a little
There's
detail.
Everything else that goes with it, but that is why it's insane.
Yeah, for sure. If you had that same experience and you had to go to the bathroom and it was just filled with shit, you would be like, let's go to the next place.
Well, how many gas stations have you stopped at? How many restaurants that are just randos? And even you think the chains, right? Like Tim Hortons is great. Like what a franchise to stop at. We all do all the time. It's like automatic. It's ingrained in our head. Congrats on their addictive stuff or marketing they've done. But it's like you don't know. You never know. And we don't care. And you still get a little bit sometimes like, oh, geez. Yeah. Right? It's, especially the gas station. So my point is it's pretty cool. Like that's how you always have to open your mind in business is look at other businesses, things, and just be like, oh, wow. Yeah. That makes sense, but there's no way to think about that necessarily. And that person did, and he built on top of that. Yeah, for sure. Legend. And so it's cool. Over the highway, they put the bridge, people running. Yeah. But no, working there was insane. Great people. Like you're talking 100 some. You're fired up to work there. You're getting paid well. The social things off the chart. And for us, like Weber's, so everybody just gets a burger cooked, right? Yeah. They should. But the meat is made every day fresh, and it's through all these ultraviolet processes right at the thing. So the chuck comes in, and then they do it. So that thing is only from their end of fridges and then out, and you know how fast they turn them over. It's not exposed to air very long. It's grade A chuck, and they have done all these treatments same day in the morning. So when we worked there, we had free food. So if we didn't crush 10 patties of like 4 doubles, 5 doubles, whatever, a triple, sometimes a quad when we closed, we'd do on the side, we just and we would have them rare to medium rare. And it's insane because it's only because of that no one ever got sick. Yeah. Right? Because you know the process. Well, it's just that. It's pretty good. And so it's still not safe. And I wouldn't do it anywhere else if you didn't know that. But if ever someone goes to Weber's, you have to order it medium rare, they'll do it. It won't be completely medium rare like as you think. It'll just be where it's going to be super juicy and good, where most people that don't like it talk about how it's cooked like a puck. Yeah. Most times that's where it is if you don't ask for it that way because they got to play to the concern, right? Yeah. So I'm starving now. Yeah. Let's talk about golf because then golf kind of carries you into this next chapter of your life into the U.S. When do you start playing golf? Like when did the love start? And then how'd that carry into going into school at the U.S.? Well, golf. A person too, Kyle Smith, that you've met over time, a good friend. We played all college or high school sports. I mean, not grade school sports. Like if there wasn't a sport to be played, because every season you could back in the day. I feel for kids today that you can't. Yeah. But so competitive schools, all that stuff. So he got me into golf. He started playing that first. Played 1 year, and so he's 11. So I got in at about 11 or 12, and at a 9-hole golf course, Cooch, and we just played like. They accepted juniors so bad. We would play 9 holes and there was gaps when you could, but we figured out exactly the timing. So typically we'd play 54 holes a day in the summer. And then we'd go to somebody's house in between when we were in a gap, eat, and then So riding our bikes, almost Stranger Things style.
Yeah.
So we just put so much time up there, but so it wasn't in the end. When you flash forward, there's Hawk Ridge was built when we were 15. So we moved over to a bigger, more challenging course. And that was the timing when we were playing in the US tournaments, Canadian stuff, going to all these things and doing pretty well. But it was just through their willingness to let juniors go out and play it. So it was so competitive. I think there was 9 of us within a 2-year stretch, 3 years maybe, in our group, boys and girls, that ended up at that time going on some form of U.S. scholarship, which is more common now.
Yeah.
But when you go back to like the early 90s, that wasn't. So it's a pretty cool story because there's just, again, people supporting others. You know what I mean? Like how the world works.
So you have an idea like, I want to go play in the U.S. like this next chapter. Like, where does that thought come from? What's the process of it? Where did you end up going?
Yeah. So what's wild is, this is the part, who knows what stories come out of the crazy things, right? Happenstance and laws of attraction, all this. So with that, I go through, and at that time, it's like the dot print. I don't even know if you even know this. The side that used to print and it had the little perf things, you had to tear them off. There's no Netscape even going on right now. I don't think that was right on the cusp. So literally you're typing on some sort of machine that looks like this size and, like it's. So anyways, but it was so like this thing was cool. I could type a letter and then say sub out this for that, whatever this thing. So Kyle, again, gave me this thing called the College Ping Golf Guide. So it had every coach's information. These coaches then don't have ways to know people like they do today either. Yeah. So I spent a night or two and I just, pound out a bunch of these. So now you're getting tired. Like I remember when I was going you talk for it. So it's like 1 or 2 in the morning. We're alphabetical here, right? Yeah. So Washburn University is where I end up at. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the end. Like where's in Topeka, Kansas? Like, come on now. But I did it and sent it. So sure enough, out of that process, I had several ones, not top D1 or anything, but like way down D1 or low end D2, like good D2, I should say, sorry. And so one was, the team was like ranked 5th or something, and it always was. And so I had them, and then I had Washburn, really liked the coach. And then I'd also sent out to Simon Fraser in BC. So because I was Canadian, had a Canadian Golf Foundation scholarship, so $3,000 for that, which is, again, a lot back then. I was like, well, why don't I go in Canada? They compete in the U.S. and I get to stay in Canada. Like, that's kind of cool, in BC, right? So long and short, I don't hear from them, though, so it's kind of weird. And I end up choosing Washburn in the end just because the coach. And I was like, my parents, their mentality was go try it for a year. You can always come back. I was going to go to Waterloo for actuarial science, my math side. Yep. So I was like, okay, well, give it a whirl and see what happens. The day I made the decision to go to Washburn, signed my letter of intent, the coach from Simon Fraser calls and says, hey, I don't know how this happened, but we were cleaning my office and we found your file behind my back of my desk. And I really want you, we really want you, blah, blah. I know your Canadian Golf Foundation connection won't cost much, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I look at my dad and I'm kind of like that, like I get off the phone and I go like, that there's a situation or whatever else. Because again, the phones aren't even sophisticated back at time. And I'm like, can't like put them on hold. So I'll call you back. Anyways, and my dad's like, you made a commitment to run and you've been talking to him. And as much as that's what you wanted and life happens that way. So again, these lessons from your parents or other people. And I was just like, all right, he goes, take it a year, tell them if whatever, you're going to let them know how you're doing. And then you'll go from there. So randomly I go and I go to this school that I just knew I could play. It was I looked at the temperature, thought like, okay, this could work out, and
best choice.
Yeah. My dad, again, though, like saying, commit, you want you to do something, do something. And
So you go down there and now you're in the US, long way from Aurelia and living on your own. Like,
what's so wild about that is, as you make me reflect on that, and I have good macro memories. You'll cue me and then I remember. But like, I remember, the part that you just made me flash on that is like when my parents dropped me off, right? Well, first, even family says, my dad drops me off. He takes me down. And then he stays for like 10 minutes and says, oh, good, you're all set and whatever else. I'm like, okay, that's not normal parent behavior, but love you, hey, whatever. He's a teacher. So this is August timeframe because you're going down early in the US. So it was mid-August and you start school probably the 3rd week of August. So get there a bit with the team. So my dad doesn't have to start until after Labor Day back here. So there's no cell phones. My dad proceeds to say, can you call your mother and tell her that I'll be back in time for school? My dad proceeds to do his own trip all up through the West Coast, all the way up there and drive. It gets all the way back in time. So as much, what I mean? So where does weird thoughts or weird, what I mean? Like, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, so So that was just hilarious. But anyways, getting there was wild. Opened your eyes right away. Had a great first year. Got involved. Just connected with a lot of people, different ways, seeing those strategies to do so down there. And
didn't you hook up with like the basketball team when you were down there?
Well, that was kind of part of it. So like different ways, like with the first right out of the gate, fraternity parties, there was like smaller schools, so it was like 4 on each side, or whatever. But there was a guy that was in the 4th year of football, and he won all the chugging contests at every party. Like they'd always obviously do this. You ask who can chug the most, blah blah blah. Everybody gets up there. So Newberry's his name, anyways, and he had always won. And so I come and like he's got all this year, and all of a sudden, then I'm just winning. I won every one.
Yeah.
So I'm this little tiny guy, and then you got the football guy. So first the football guys right away, I was like, oh my God, okay, this is kind of funny. So I got named there, and then the basketball was my coach Ron, who did the golf stuff. He was both a golfer and a basketball player that had played at KU and watched good player in his time, and then got into coaching. So he at the school he said, I'll take on the golf because I'm a scratch golfer and blah blah blah, and my other side of my assistant coaching job.
Yeah.
So that's why I knew in the first year, I'm a massive fan of sports, as you know, in college sports too. So I knew this stuff that a lot of people are looking at today. And KU was always my favorite basketball team, right? So not Washburn's in Topeka, KU's in Lawrence, 30 minutes away. So I realized when I chose there that every 4 years, KU plays one of the 4 Division II teams in the state. So it was Washburn's year. So then I started just going out and helping with practices and just firing balls because I played high school basketball, you know, like look at my size. I just played well, but fine. And so then my whole thing was that all I wanted to do is my dream was one of your dreams was to sit on, like to go to Allen Fieldhouse and like sit on the bench. Like, so sure enough, I got to do that. And so that was when like Woodbury and some of these top guys. And it's funny about that game, it was an early December type of game. So it doesn't really count against a record or anything, but because D1 versus D2, but we were ranked number 1 or number 2. And so was KU in each respective.
Yeah.
So with 15 left to go in the second quarter, it was 42-41, and we had an open layup, and our guy missed it. But we would have taken the lead with like 15 left to go. We lost by, I think, 7. Like, so we had a good team, and it was like, so it was a real game. Like, real, and on the house in the suit. And long and story, it was awesome. Only to get back and almost get kicked out of university because the AD at our school, even though it's Washburn, was on the committee for violations for the NCAA, one of the heads of it, because they volunteer for this stuff. And he got all of this tissy because he said I got a free ticket to a basketball game. So then we had to go through how much I did, and I didn't take it. You know what I mean? It was a whole thing, and it ended up like it could have been the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
But I did put in time and effort, and I didn't get paid for it, which I probably should have. So they should have owed me money, but in the end, it worked itself out.
And so,
another funny one.
Yeah. And so you kind of go through the school career of that. You finish there, then you go to Dell, right?
Yeah.
And what do you go to Dell for? And are you thinking about what you want to do after school at this point, or you're just going to go get your business degree? Yeah.
I mean, my last semester, I only had like 3 hours left because I was going to do a double degree, which is 154 hours. But when I made the decision after getting a special exemption to do it in 148, I came back and my dad said, why are you stressed out? Well, I got to take a massive amount. And so I quickly on that, I switched on that. So I had hardly any hours. Yeah. And I just said, I'm just going to take a BBA in finance and take a math minor. Yeah. This actuarial stuff is for crazy smart people. And I don't want to keep trying to do that. Yeah. So anyways, then I started working at some firms. So I did like on a bond desk. And then I did on a trading job while I was still there. 2 firms that were there. So Security Benefit, that's now a big company now, originated out of there. And Amvestors was the other one that's now with Aviva, sorry. It's going to gobbled up. So 2 interesting firms. I got them both. Boosters of the program. So long and short is when I graduated, I actually had already got a job with Security Benefit as the junior trader. So Dan, who I went to that school who I knew, but older, he was the head trader and I was going to be the junior trader. So 4 or 5 billion at the time for Security Benefit. They're probably, I should look up, it's massive. Like they're massive now, but at the time it would just be me and him doing all the trading. So I got the job. So I'm going to graduate, get it. And then I'm sitting there thinking, like in Topeka, what am I going to do? So I also had put in for some grad school stuff. So one of them was Dow. And so then I got back, I got into this 10-month MBA somehow, even though I was supposed to have a bunch of experience. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, hang on a sec. Maybe I need to do this. Life you were at, like Tara and I, as you know, now married since
Yeah, you
98.
meet Tara
at
while
Washburn.
at school.
Yeah. So married since then. So I'm sitting there going, well, hang on, we've been dating all the way. Maybe this isn't a bad thing to whatever. So I actually go back to the security benefit to the CFOs and Jim Spank's name, and I said, hey, Jim, I didn't intend this, but I didn't expect to get into this. I think I'm going to go there. I want to see what it's about. Lots of things, you know what I mean? So he wasn't happy, but he's like, I understand, right? He didn't know. And so flash forward a week later, I'm at church, and lo and behold, I'm sitting there with Tara, and we go to one that we normally don't go to. So wild. And in the pew in front of us is the guy, it's Jim Spank, the CFO that was the end hirer, and the guy that I had to go tell. Like, so I'm like, Tara, that's him. So after it's over, I just sort of, again, like, we came out, I said, Jim, just again, like this is Tara, I told you about. And he goes, well, hey, you know what? He goes, we spent like 3 months trying to find the right candidate. You know what I mean? We got you. And now, so we're going to take our time, obviously. And now it's the summer starting. So he goes, what are you doing this summer? So I was going to go back to Weber's and flip some burgers. He goes, what? He goes, how about, do you want to just come and work for us all summer before you go to grad school and do that job? So I got to go and work 3 months trading.
Yeah.
Like with Chicago, New York, with all these other things like you do to visit and then also trade. And then, so I got to do that, the buy side style of that thing, and learn another whole thing. Like, and all because we chose a different church because we were late, and then we go in. So my point is, that's our Napoleon Hill side of like all these, and we've had, like, you're laughing on that. Like, it's fun that way in life, right? If you let it be, sees what happens, and things kind of happen sometimes for some fortuitous reason. But that was kind of that side before.
So you go to Dell, you're married at this time, or?
No, just serious.
Yeah.
The Midwest right away. Parents, as soon as you start dating, start asking when you get married. You know what I mean? Like before you even done university. So that was also the part of I think the thing for both of us was like, whoa, like the environment around us is going to push you faster than you both probably thought after dating for 3.5 years. You know what I mean? Like you're getting your life started. It's just that mentality then was it. So anyways, go to Dell, have a blast. Tara visits too. That was cool. And so when it came down to all that stuff of school, I had a chance to do the one in New York, management Surly. That was like the most coveted job that you could imagine. Farsky retired at 40, so you can get a feel how good this guy was, and I was this guy. And then, but on the other side, Koch Industries, Charles Koch company, second largest private company in the United States, so obviously in the world too, in that size, like close, top 10 at least. They're in Wichita, Kansas. And so I had a thing there. And so a person there put my resume in on the right desk. And so I had the opportunity to fly out there and get into that as an option. So when I said this, I said, here's what I'm doing, Craig. Like, I can still go do this amazing place that's regarded in this mystery place of why it's there. But these guys, it's a real powerful, real cool organization, just like anything on Wall Street, this company. So I now I'm an hour and a half from where Tara is, right? She's teaching already. And so I just, honestly, my mom came through, or that family thing again. I was like, that was my dream to New York and everything I wanted, whether I was Gecko or Bud Fogg. I watched a billion times, right? As we talked about that movie. And I couldn't believe it. But like, even when Farsi says you're making the biggest mistake of your life, I'm like, I understand, but I just know this is the right decision. I just knew it wouldn't work if you went to New York and did that, how powerful and how strong and what that was. It just wasn't going to fit for us to make it. So I had enough awareness of that. So I had to make that decision at a lot younger than I would have thought. You know what I mean? And so that's what happened. And I go out there and start with them, but then
Koch.
Yeah, Koch. And so I do M&A, like you said.
How old are you when you start working there?
What's that, 98? So I'm 23, just turned.
Yeah.
Right? So then there, I'm one of the younger ones. And what Koch done brought 50 MBAs in from around the country, from the top schools, Yale, Wharton, you name it, in from their grad school. Michigan, Indiana, you can just keep going through them all. Anyways, they take us for a month. We get there and they say, you're not doing anything but going into the classroom for a month to learn market-based management. Koch is wild if you ever read about it. So that was cool. But then we do that and I start working for a few months M&A doing stuff. And then markets change in the world because they're in LA Energy. So they decide, hey, we're not going to do this in-house M&A thing anymore. We're going to change it up. All you guys have a job right now, but you get like a month and a half that you can come in and your job is just to go around the entire firm, 5 giant buildings, and find your next job because we're not going to do this anymore. So you love what you get into and you're like, what? You know? So in the end, I end up, they want to make me a crude trader and move to Houston. And I'm like, no, but I'm going to do it. Like you're kind of there like, oh man. But so yeah, a buddy of mine who didn't find something, like getting towards the end, went to lunch with him to try to help. And then he tells me he's got this opportunity to go to Hallmark to do mergers and acquisitions. And it was like a Thursday and he was going to go up on the Monday. This guy's like in his 30s,
Yeah.
former army, like, you know what I mean? Like classic type person. Anyways, he ends up, we get back from lunch and I got a call back from him. He goes, hey, you won't believe it. I'm going to be there Friday. Because when I got back, I had a message for a relative value trading job down in your department. So we're going to be working together. I'm going to take, well, you're going to take it? Like, I thought we both just want to do M&A and we're getting shafted. He's like, yeah, but this is really cool. And I have a house already bought. This guy's like in his 30s, right? A kid. So I'm like, oh, okay. I go, you don't mind if I go up to Johnston, the guy that we both reported to that was a U Chicago grad, the guy at Hallmark that ran the M&A of only 3 people in the team, a $4.5 billion company, U Chicago grad. That's how Tony was going. So I go up and throw the resume down and the guy swears at me like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You know, that's how it worked there. It was a culture was wild. Yeah. I go, well, what I'm telling you is Tony just said he's not taking that interview on Monday and I want to do M&A and I don't want to go to Houston. So I want that interview. He goes, yeah, you think you can take it? I said, yeah. So then he gets on the phone, calls the guy. And then I'm the one who goes up on Monday. I'm the one that ends up at Hallmark and doing M&A with this team of like nobody and doing all these deals. So
yeah. So then that's where you really start to excel is when you get into that company, right? And
oh yeah. Right out of the gate. Like it just was like, wow, like, you know, you do school, but then you want to get into the ballgame. Usually takes some time. Yeah. But now you're in a team of like 3 and we're talking 99, right at the beginning of January of 99 now. Like, and we got 2,000 almost there. Internet, think of all the investing and the crazy and growth through that stuff, both internet and other acquisitions. So I'm on this team, but so I'm there and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? Full on in because we're a small team. And then like, I guess about a month and change in, the 2 other guys were away overseas on a deal and we had a deal that was going to close mid of the next month. And so the boss said, hey, I know you've looked at this deal a lot. When the financials come in, just update the financial model, make sure there's, you know, just take a look at it again, blah, blah, blah. And so they're away. And I put it in the thing. I started looking at it and I'm starting to figure this stuff out. And I'm like, they're smoking some, this doesn't look right. These financials are
like, it's no good. The deal's no good?
No, the deal's good. But what they were doing is balance sheet. They were stripping down the AR side of the ledger and stretching out the payables. So they weren't paying anything and they were taking the AR down, bringing in the cash, but they didn't write it right around the cash of what was going or not going. They didn't have like kind of a parameter around that stuff. So they were just stripping it out and taking it out basically. Right. So when I looked at it, I said, as the models had, right? And it's just models, but either way, it's a framework and your discount rate, what you think, and then other things. But long and short, we're going to pay 66 for it, million or whatever for this Dayspring greeting card company. Christian greeting card company had in. And so I looked at it and everything just set off that basically 3 million of value had been taken away from where we were mid of the month before the financials came and then this. So I'm seeing that, but I'm 2 or 3 months in, like whatever it is, I'm like new, right? I haven't even done my own deal yet. And so then I'm like, oh, well, I couldn't get a hold of them, but I knew this is like urgent. So I called down the guys that run business development. And so then they'd say, fine, we're going to come down and meet with you. And so this guy, Tom Kilcourse, was known to be like this guy, like weird Hallmarker, like crazy cost cutter, doesn't fit the mold. Yeah. But he also calls down John Beater, who's a number 2 in the entire company. And he's a Harvard grad. Everybody's afraid of John, but he's a polished super stud, right? And I know that just from being there. So then I'm in there, I'm showing the numbers to Killer. They call him Killer. Yeah. And he's like all of 5'2". He drinks he runs 10K at lunch every day. And he doesn't sweat, drinks chocolate milk. This guy is like not of this world. So this guy, it doesn't fit Hallmark. Think of Hallmark. You know what I mean? Like a lot of nice people. Even though there's 7,000 around that head office. And then you got John there, and then his number 2 in the that works with Killer. And we show him the numbers, and then he's like, well, I don't understand any of this. Like, look how I'm talking here. Like, I know it, but I'm like trying to communicate. And imagine back 30 years younger. Yeah. Like, I'm just wired on this. Like, I can't even believe I'm doing it. And I'm like, I think I'm right. So he takes his papers, like, and I kind of just have one summary here and one over here, and then a bit more depth. So, and he takes them all together and he throws them in the air. So it's like us sitting right here, and I'm like, whoa, like the Canadian hockey thing kicked in right away. I just sort of went, I kind of went like this. You got this number 2 of this company that I'm fresh to, right? And I'm like, okay. I just say, hey, just give me one sec, guys. You know what I mean? And John obviously is looking at it like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, what just happened here? And this is like this new kid. He's just busted this 23-year-old. Anyways, I slowly pick up each set, get them both like this. So I go back to Tom's desk that he's sitting at. I go, put the one down here. And the one set here, like the old numbers and summaries. And then the new one that I kind of had, I said, okay, so Tom, since you were swearing when you threw it, blah, blah, blah. I said, these ones right over here, right? These are the old fucking numbers, Tom, right? The old fucking ones, right? You know, because you like to talk like that. So that's what those are. And these ones over here, they're the right fucking numbers right now. And the reason we're here, because I think you're getting ripped off for $3 million of value because you wrote the purchase agreement wrong. That's why. So that's why that's why we're fucking here. So if you don't understand it, you don't have to, and we can just go ahead, or you can let me call the CFO and I'll see what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden he just looks at me and says, "You think you can do it?" I said, "Fucking right." I had no idea. I'm like down in this. I'm got no mistake. I was so angry, and I pulled the like shirt over your jersey hockey thing. When you get hit from behind, you turn around and you're a 6'2" guy, but you got to throw.
Yeah.
Right. So my instincts went like that, and I anyway, long short, call that CFO, start chatting with him, call him out on what he did, say, "Here's what I see, and here's what you're doing," and I said, "This may like cause problems unless you are reasonable about it." Learn my own little games. And then anyways, long and short, we still closed on time, like I guess a week later. And John came back from overseas for the close of the deal. And we closed for 63 million instead of 66 million. So you can imagine in a big company like Hallmark, 100-year company, I'm 23, Killer's a legend for being
Killer
and against all the rules and I basically told him to, because my instincts just kicked in, like, you don't treat people like that. And I think another one once, Myles, is that, I think for everybody, is that I was 23, wanting to learn and do whatever, and have this respect background, but aggressive, right? And then you got this. I'm looking at them when I go in those meetings, even at then for some reason, I'm like, why am I looking up to you and what's not a disrespect, but why am I so? I'm not gonna be wowed by this because I don't think you were in this role when you. I see where you're at now. I don't think you were started at this level or doing this type of thing when you started. So how about a little bit of mutual respect that, wow, this is a young buck that they're giving some pretty good job to do stuff, right?
You're there, you're in the seat for a reason, obviously.
Yeah, and you're so young, because that's what my mentality was, why I guess I didn't have that normal Hallmark, like a company like that fear, and that had to make some headways.
Well,
there had to be some big laughs. Now that I know when I'm at this age, and an executive type, like I just can't even. I need.
It was definitely talked about, like at the bar after of
for
what
that level, right? Like that, eventually got to. Like it would have just been like, can you like? It had to just be without even knowing. I knew it was cool at the time, but I didn't really probably get how that real world works when it's big companies and you get to the top.
Yeah, but that seems like Hallmark is kind of like the perfect vehicle because it's a big business, right? Lots of history. But as well, you're in like a pocket where you can make a dent, like, and you can kind of build yourself, small growth.
Wanting to spend money.
Yeah.
So like, you got to think that we had Hallmark, but we have Crayola. Yeah. And then we also had a whole movie business. Yeah. Everybody loves and cries for Hallmark movies. Yeah. Right? So we had that and more. Like, so it wasn't the ones that were our cheesy ones. And then there was also the ones that always show up on the big networks. Yeah. We make those. So there was these people didn't realize that about Hallmark. So a $4 billion type plus company with all the things. And then we were spending a lot of money. I mean, one of my deals was trying to buy Party City from Goldman Sachs and $500 million deal. Yeah. For 2 years working on that. And the person across from me on that deal for a lot of it was Byron Trott. I believe I got the name right again. Goldman. He's known more for Buffett saying that was his number one advisor, Goldman. And I had to do 2 years. So this again at my young age. And we went back and forth, 450 versus theirs and all these things. And then in the end, I said, why don't we just buy Party City, which was the public company underneath their envelope, and we could put we don't need their company, we put all our stuff in because if we own it, and that was about 40% of the distribution. But they also had greeting cards in there. That was with another one. So I showed them that we could buy this for, instead of 500 that we're arguing over, we could go buy the public stock for like 100 and some million, and we could actually get all of this and the greeting card business. And so it was called the Hennessy model through the building, and then they never pulled the trigger for some reason. But it was, again, thinking differently. I got so frustrated, and I saw something as the opportunity that literally they should have done. And they did a deal actually with them like 3 or 4 years later, more on a straight basis. And sure enough, that would have been like, so it was, again, just always thinking, right? Yeah. And that would have been cool if they had done that. It would have been such a high return and such a smarter like business play. Yeah. But so those are cool things.
So you get to like essentially build the career, sharpen the skills, get all the experience too, then get married, and you having kids at this time.
Well, we got married, to go to even the Hallmark thing accelerated like holy smokes, to be. We were already engaged right away when I moved back from stuff. So before any of this weird stuff happened with Coca, the changing to Houston and all that, we were already engaged. So that just made a heightened thing of like, oh wow, things can change. You know what I mean? So so then engaged in that, and then working Hallmark 3 years. So I did beginning of 99 to 2001 doing that, and so many cool, fun things, and learned a ton, and lots of stuff. And then I ended up, when the things were fading off, because people realized .com 2000 purchases and the internet stuff was like, and we were investing in some of those. That was fun, like all these multiples and all these models. But wow. You know what I mean? So that was a cool thing. But then they go and say, hey, we want you to come over and debt, like they put me onto the debt side. So Hallmark, a private company, we had like a $700 some million revolver with the banks, where it's your working capital that goes up and down. You think of Hallmark and Crayola, you get these big waves, right? So we had that with like 10 banks. So a real professional, almost public style thing. So that was really cool because you get to do a lot of stuff with that. And then we had private placements where we would raise money from insurance companies. So instead of the public market, we'd go around and fly around and you pitch, and then they allot some of their monies to private placements. So it's not as much of a process like the public markets would be. So that was cool to do because I had to put the pitch together, Hallmark's balance sheet, answer those questions with the CFO's help and that stuff, and do that kind of thing. So that was somewhere around the $700 to $1 billion worth of that stuff. Yeah. So they'd roll off every 1 to 2 years. So you're always doing like 250 million or whatever type of placement. So I think I did for the next from 2021 up to 2024 kind of March timeframe.
2001 to 2004.
2001 to 2004. Yeah, Marty. Yeah, try to fly. Yeah. So I did like 2 private placements, managed all the revolver, little industrial bonds, all these kind of neat things, and then a program called Crown Mac that was off balance sheet. So Hallmark was really aggressive, even though they're private. They lent to all the Gold Crown dealers that own all these stores. Yeah. But what we did is back in this day, all we did is guaranteed it with like $4 million. We're talking. But it was a $300 million program, right? This is how the world was working then. Even though we're private, you shouldn't have to do this because it's off balance sheet gymnastics. So we didn't have to put it on our balance sheet, only the guarantee, and write some notes about it. But the structure was $300 million worth of lends to these retailers that are on. It's tough, right? Yeah. Even then, it's still like they're around. So what happened was the program had a lock that if ever one defaulted, that we had the right to save anybody, and if ever anyone wasn't saved by us, the whole thing seized up and wound down. No other monies could go out to anybody, and it's just pay it back over whatever period of time, program folds. So are you kidding me? Like, so that was just a play to keep it off, but it was cool because then all of those ones I had to go, semi-annually, all these meetings where the people on those structures weren't us. I was just there as a person to be there because I'm the guarantor. Yeah. And the banks are there. And then it's like a representative of the Gold Crown network would be there to have their meetings. And then I'd have to sit there and hear about bad debts and then say, okay, buy it. And then our side team underneath us had to manage that and work them through and see if they could ever qualify again under their own rights to get back into that side. So it was a wild thing, right? So it should have been all of our $300 million debt because we were going to always not let that happen. Yeah. So it's like so much exposure, so much learning, so much experience. Yeah. And you got some cool perks in there too. Like, didn't one of your bosses send you to Augusta or to the Masters? Off of that. So the cool part about the golf was the Crown Mac program. I told Gold Crown they'd have semi-annual meetings, and that group, since they were on there, didn't get paid. But what they do is put them at the best resorts in the country. So Whistling Straits, Pinehurst. You can go through. So in that, 3 years, 6 of them, I went to the best spots to play golf. So I was like, this is insane. You know what I mean? Like just playing the greatest tracks in like Sonoma, like Silverado. Like these are ones that like cool. So that was really good. But the one for Pebble was that deal that I did for the 3. And that was a good example where I saved that money. Instead of giving me a bonus. And at that time, I don't know, I think I started like 80 USD, right? Yeah. Back at that time, like real good job. Like it was crazy in the Midwest where your money goes $1 billion. Yeah. Like, I mean, I think the first house I bought there was like $200,000 US. Yeah. So, anyways, that's where Druten comes up to me, the CFO, and he says, I was going to go out to a Fulcrum conference. These are things on M&A back in the day that you could learn and network. And so they do that when you first start. Go to a lot of those, get your head around it. Yeah. So I was already going out to San Francisco for that. And I think I was flying out Thursday. And anyways, he comes and says, hey, you need to check with your wife, but you're going to fly out Tuesday next week. I'm like, okay. He goes, you don't ask any questions. Just come back and I'll tell you if you just got to let me know tomorrow morning. So I come back and tell him, yeah, she's fine. No problem. Yeah, I can go from Tuesday to Sunday or whatever. He goes, great. First tee, Pebble Beach, Wednesday that next week before that. You know what I mean? Open tab, whatever you got to do. Thanks for the deal you did. So what I said down on the credit card from eating, playing around, staying at the lodge right there, eating at the restaurant, buying some stuff. I think it was about, like the golf round was like 300 some of that time. It's probably 600 now. But in the end, the whole thing was about $1,000 I spent, okay, on that cycle of maybe 24 hours I was there and then headed back up the coast for the other thing. So it meant so much. It was unbelievable. And it taught me everything about how you, with people, is if you there's time for money bonuses at the end of the year, in my opinion, but everything else should really just be like things that you know about somebody and do it. Because if he had given me, at least that's a 10,000 that I saw randomly for like what they call spot bonuses for crazy things that you do when you're in the younger part of that company. So that would normally be it. But he knew
you wouldn't go.
If I got that money, I wouldn't go.
No.
So that's a cool, again, on these shows that you do, or the way you think too, how we're common. That's those nuggets that I love. And I took that one with me all the way through, but that was that side.
And then, so you come back to Canada, right? So that's a transition of then going from the US back to Canada, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Is that, again, looking after yourself, is that I got an article from my uncle that said Roger Baranowski had become the president of Hallmark Canada. And so I wasn't even thinking anything, but he says, oh, but you'll like this. He's a Dal MBA grad. Dang. So I emailed Roger, say, Roger, hey, there's a fellow Dal MBA grad down at head office here. I don't even know if I'm like, I'm going to be home and I'd love to come in and meet you and stuff. I've always thought it'd be cool if my next thing I do would be like a 2-year assignment in Canada and I rotate through all 4 areas of the business: sales and marketing, finance, operations, stuff like that. You know what I mean? HR maybe even. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to try to build this, like Canada's a mini me of the US. So if I go do that, bring me back here. And now I'm like, got this stuff. Now I'm a business person. Now I'm not just the finance jockey that, you know what I mean? Like that marketing doesn't trust. And that's the truth. Like they just think, there's no chance of it. But I love that stuff. So I was like, that was my plan. So I put it on his shoulder and he goes, oh, well, maybe. So then the next week I get a thing on my phone that says Canada Tie because the phone's rolling. And I pick it up and it says Bob Canuel, who runs HR. And he goes, hey, I'm going to be down there for the meetings, like for one of these things. He goes, I'd like to meet with you. Roger told me about you. So I go meet with Bob. Okay. We eat out. The Hallmark head office is awesome. It's got even restaurants and shops all tied to it. It's really crazy in Kansas City, but we do our breakfast little cafe thing and hit it off. Just awesome. And he's just excited because he's like, we need somebody like this up here. We keep missing our numbers and we tell them we're going to hit here and people don't understand. It seems like you would be, and you want to do this. He goes like, so leave with me. We're walking back through the Halls department store, which is like a Nordstrom's, like this high end stuff. And 2 guys walking towards us are the guy that's the head of all of finance for Hallmark and is number 2. And so they literally see Bob and I in the middle of this, like, we're talking like high-end blue blood store, like limos probably drop people off sometimes. Yeah. Anyways, and they basically said to me, they go, Hennessy, what the fuck are you doing? Right. So now this is 2005. I'm like 2004. I'm not even 30 yet. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how they get it. Cause I kind of broke the rules. Right. And Hallmark's a structured thing. So they never liked my progression being fast or any of that, because it was always just through us.
That's not how we do it here.
And we're in the small group that was doing this stuff, and we were doing so. Anyways, that's it. And Daniel says some like whatever, and so 30 minutes later, those 2 come back to my office and say, like, hands down, you're not allowed to just do your own deals, and whatever you're doing, stop now. Like, we talked to Bob, and this is done. Whatever you're thinking. Yeah. So I'm like, I go into CFO. It's like, oh, Bob, here's what I did. He's like, oh my gosh, like CFO, the guy. Anyway, so. Long and the short, that was March of 24. And then they come back to me in September and asked to meet with me in an area. And they had missed some numbers again up in Canada, whatever else. And so then they wanted to send me up for a 3-year assignment to help turn it around, get a grip on it, and be on the executive right out of the gate, but still employee of the U.S. So it's kind of like, hey, you get this job, and you're in the executive, all the meetings, all the boards, everything in your office. But just to get in there, and they, and I was cool with it, even though I'm like that person thrown in, because hey, I'll figure this out. So sure enough, I did, figured it all out, got a much better end of the year, brought it way down, showed exactly where it's going to come from, got these models going with some people and how to think about it. And so we dialed that in, and sure enough, do that. They're happy, that at least got accurate for the first time, so they didn't get a surprise. I think 3 years in a row where that happened. So but the head guy thought, okay, well, I want this guy in because I'm the one getting looked at because of finance, so this will save me. Right. But in the end, all of a sudden, early in the new year, I get a call, and it's the guy that I report into from the US. And he says, hey, it's Friday. He said, I gotta tell you something. I go, okay, what? I go, on Monday, we're going to make an announcement that we're getting rid of Roger Baranowski, the president. I love this guy. Yeah. I'm like, okay. He goes, yeah, and the other person coming up is the number 2 in the company. Now we want her to get experience or whatever. Ellen Junger's her name, and she went on to run everything there, went back. But and he's like, yeah, she's got a reputation. She's a real math type person, went to Northwestern, but she's kind of cool to the point of being cold. So you're just gonna have to work with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this on Friday. I'm gonna tell us on a Monday. it was supposed to be the other way around. It was more that I was going to transition that and work with these guys I like that were marketing dudes, right? So all of a sudden, that's the type of curveballs you get. And you're like, wow, in the business world too, like I did all this stuff and you had this plan.
Yeah.
And you didn't I got used. It's okay because if you do it yourself and you figure it out. But that was the fact of it, right? Like, because again, I'm only at this time, I guess 30 now, right? And on this stuff. And so it was just a sharp lesson on that. And so long and the short, she came up and a year, and then Smith Holland came up afterwards. And the thing about Smith is Smith was the guy that I remember said team of 3.
Yeah.
He was my boss. So all of a sudden we were back together. And so then we did some really cool stuff in that 2 years, because it was a 3-year kind of thing or whatever, year and a half. And we turned around Canada, made a lot of things that the US put into their business, because we did some stuff. And so that was pretty cool. And then they made me the CFO, call it, but the VP of Finance and Strategy. When I say CFO, they call it that for like subsidiary CFO. It's not a public company, so it's like not the same degree, frankly, but it's still the same in the sense of your role that you're the top dog in the stuff with that and making those contributions. So so then I ended up doing that at 32, I guess it was, and then stayed at Hallmark for another 5 years. Yeah. And then to the point, then that's when I decided.
What was that decision like? Okay, I'm gonna leave this now. Well,
the next step was like, at that time, was to go to be like a president of some subsidiary in the U.S. of another size business that's smaller than the 400 million. Like they send you to like one of these little 50s or something, or an international thing. So I knew that was coming, and I saw what everybody, because I saw what everybody else had already done. Yeah. But they did it older, but like what it did with family stuff. And Cade at that time was 9. He was playing these sports.
Yeah, like roots are built now. Like,
I have a 9-year-old and 7-year-old or something, and I want to coach all this stuff. Yeah. So I just had to think about that and say, I see where this goes to. Be good. I'm good. I'm golden. Yeah. I got the like almost the Farsky thing with the game. I'm locked. Yeah. But I was like, I see what that is. That's not what I want to do. I want to stay here. I want to be a part of it. And so that's what got me on the entrepreneurial side, is to crazy. Like they couldn't believe it when I said, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. They're like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like my boss, Smith Holland, just to say, again, the guy in front of me that I worked from M&A all the way through, and he comes up and becomes the president of Canada. He moves on to go to run Crayola as a number 2, then ran Crayola, then went to Hallmark and ran Hallmark, right? And he's now retired. Yeah. Again, I knew that. I knew his strength. McKenzie guy, Northwest, like sharpest guy I ever met. So I knew his path. But again, I just knew that wasn't me though. Yeah. Right. So again, look away from like easy, but to do it for whatever. I think I go back to my mom, just whatever put in me, like that there's more to life than than just, I don't know, following like some sort of path.
Yeah, you just, kind of go with your gut, follow intuition. It's not there. It's a much more holistic approach to life, right? Not just on the pure career side. And, the stakes are a lot different. You got 2 little kids, you got rooted, they're in schools and playing sports. So you decide to go out on your own and kind of find your own ventures. I know that before we got together, you had the one going. We don't have to go into the details of that story, but you do that.
Another good lesson.
You're in that piece of it. What was it called? David's
Condiments.
David's Condiments.
Put together a heck of a group. Of like people from all around that I'd met.
Yeah, but
we had a good one there. We just lost to a narcissistic situation, which we're seeing in the world today. So you learn quickly in this world as you get older. There's a lot of that can blindside you.
Yeah. Which, early lesson, I guess. And then you get a pair of flip-flops with hockey laces from a friend, right? And, what's your side of this? You get the product and you're like, this is cool. Like what's, I know my journey of it, right? From my lens of it, but what's yours to then be like, okay, I see this product, who made it? And then that leads us to having a meeting.
Yeah. So one more thing I got to pop back on that I think is pretty cool about the Hallmark thing before we get there is, so in my office, I had the corner office, I had these good sized whiteboards. And on one of them that was right there, that was opened up, so double wide or whatever, I had listened to some, like one of those things on a drive-in, like a success thing. Yeah. And it was a story halfway through about this person that this lady asked the guy, stopped him and said, so how are you going to use your life? And flustered that guy, and and then he ended up changing his career. So I actually wrote on that board that was on there for 3 years, and nobody was allowed to write on that board. That's the main one. And I had in giant letters, how are you going to use your life? So every day like this, looking at you, I was just seeing that.
Yeah.
So that just always, why we're here on that side is because how am I going to use, you're only here once. And that's what got me to the decision I made, was probably that one single thing of this move. Was I had to look at that for that time, and it played on me that, how are you going to use it? You only got it once, right? And so anyway, so going to that being now with yours, is that, good friend Jace Mitchell is wearing a pair of those slides with the laces on them, your first gen.
Yeah.
And I think it was like some sort of like hockey golf tournament, you know what I mean? So August or whatever. So then that's fine. I said, Jay, you got to get me a pair of classic stuff. He said, no problem. And then it was like, I think a couple nights later, I woke up at 4 a.m. and my wife was like, what do you do? Can you just sleep? You've been restless all night. What are you doing? I said, I'm texting Jay. I got to meet whoever he knows that is a family behind this. Because he just said it was a family.
Yeah.
And so then gave me your contact and that stuff. And I didn't know Myles if he was I thought it was like older, right?
Yeah.
So then I get it. And I remember when I texted you, that was one thing, yeah, let's meet up. And then I called you and then we chatted and then I was like, oh, sounds a bit younger. Okay, cool. And then you told me your story. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then you said, you don't mind if my dad joins. Yeah. So it's kind of wild. And we went to Nino Diversa.
Yeah.
And I was just fired up. I mean, real hockey laces, your $29.99 price point.
Yeah.
And it was just like, so wow. Again, the main thing was from that was my brain just took off. It was like, this is really cool. But then it was the idea that the price point was really good. And the fact that I thought like the laces were worth so much too, right? So yeah, so cue us meeting up in that.
Yeah, Nino Diversa, sit down there, and pretty much on my side of it, it's just like, love the product. I think that we could do something. Obviously, I don't know anything about anything at that time. And we just heard of like this whole career that you have. It's so much like experience of just like all these bigger things. And I guess you could just see the bigger picture of it, right? And then we just do a deal right there. And it's just like, crazy. Okay, go. And I go to my last year at school and you go get
you were leaving the next day or something.
Yeah,
it was like we're now right at the September time. Like we're right on the cusp of that.
And you essentially go and find investment into the company and a new manufacturer from that September to the December. And then we launched.
Not one. We had that one was, I thought I found the best that could possibly ever, and they submarined us. And then we got lots of stories there, how we got randomly to somebody that ended up being the best thing ever. Yeah. Right. So we got that.
Well, that first you go and figure out how to get money into just this random idea, right?
Oh,
so
that was
kind
crazy.
Of fund it.
Well, we even left that breakfast. That was awesome. By the time I went out in the car, and I just started calling around because I said, we're going to need legal. We're going to need to do this. And I still am like trying to learn that side. Like I'm big companies where I had everybody around you, right? Yeah. So this is like, whoa, but I was fired up, no doubt. And your innovation was insane. And your ability to bring in 3,000, do what you did then was just nutty. Like, let's be honest. So then we got the right two minds going here, right? And then, but I raised, before I left that driveway, I'd raised $100,000. Yeah. On this idea of a sandal that they're like, what is this? You know what I mean? I sent a couple pictures and I said, yeah, but here's what it could be. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're going to keep that price point, but I think I can make a sandal that is the best, most comfortable sandal, or my premise is to do that. And then find a way to customize on the laces. Yeah. And then that'll be what, you know what I mean? So that's what the vision was. And I talked to those guys that are in, and that was a start. And then we got further along working with that Gradeco footwear, that's number one importer into Canada of footwear. Yeah. With the biggest of the boys. And we had a great thing. It was going awesome. Yeah. And then they folded on us all of a sudden. You remember that? I'm away in the Bahamas. And all of a sudden they say, yeah, we're out. What do you mean you're out? We're supposed to go to meet with Sport Check next week, and I'm home in Calgary. You're what? Anyway, so that was weird. Someone got in the middle of that from messing with them because of their supply to Walmart and everybody else and Target at the time when that was around. So anyways, but then we end up with Adrian and Croza Design, and one of our investors that was in that first 100 was out crying about the fact that this has happened. And then one of his buddies said, hey, why don't you just talk to Adrian? He's like, who? Adrian, like your wife's good friend? And from that call, we ended up getting Adrian, which is awesome, perfect for us in sourcing and trusted. And so I'll go to this because I know we do that, right? So now we're all in that back quarter of the year. Well, you're there. And then we set up that we had already booked to go to the Source for Sports show, and it would have been February. January. It was January. Yeah. Oh, shoot, it was January. Yeah. So we lose in November. Yeah. And by January, the morning we're going to that show, our first show ever, we're just even figuring out like, remember even getting the rack, how to even put up a display. It was almost going to be like we were at like some thing with a table because we were putting this all together on the fly. No sandal. We have no sandal at the time. Yeah. We've never seen it.
Yes.
We just have the visions from over there because how fast it was that we changed and we like what we saw, different from the other guys, and realized, oh, wow, this is better.
Yeah.
We really love the old one. Thought we were hooked, and it's amazing when you see the next one. You're like, oh my gosh. So anyways, then we pick it up in the morning at that FedEx place or whatever, like the depot. Right? It's packaged up. We get over there, throw the stuff together. The show started. We're still trying to put everything.
We're in the hotel room. We have 3 or 4 different
Well, this is the night after the first thing, wasn't it? Or was that Yes, because we got to set up the night before.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. We got the morning off for the day of the setup. Yeah. We set up, and then we decide we're good. I think there were some precursors of some people that could come through. Mm-hmm. And then that night, yes, we're over in the thing. Gonna go have a nice dinner or something because I always, as we can talk about our journeys, I always said, like, if we're doing this, we're gonna have some fun, right?
Yes.
And we did every trip. Oh my god! But so we're wearing them, right? And so what he sent over was the laces were all the consistent same and everything, but then he gave us all these footbed options from the bottom to the shredding. So we'd already had signs up. Remember, Myles, that was that sign because we liked the S wave. We'd seen the others, but we had this thing because we said summer skates, like a little wave that would feel cool on your foot.
Yeah.
Even colors. And so that's what it was in there, but then they had the other ones. And then, so we go and all of a sudden we're wearing that one, like that, so many different styles, but the one was the one with the comfort dunks.
Yes.
That's our one today. We came with that. But both of us kept wearing around going,
this is the one.
Oh my God, this is it. This is insane.
Yeah.
Like this is the most comfortable. It feels great.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The sole was blue.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be the matching of the tracer, I think.
That's right. He was showing that we could do the different. That's right in the sample. On that one.
But then we do that show and we probably land our first.
Then we sub out. We had more of the other ones. So we showed and we had the couple that, because he gave 2, I think, versions of each of those other styles.
Yeah.
So he said, but this is actually where it's evolved to here, what we're doing.
For like shipping in like March or April or something, probably.
Well, April. So we're even January. You think of what we got to. Yeah, so that was funny, but they loved it. It was good. It was solid. A lot of those signed up, so that was cool. And then
we were off to the races.
And then and even with that, around that time, because I hadn't had a sandal in hand, in between there, I went out and raised $750,000 US on from 750 through 5 people and low interest rate, but gave them a bit of small sleeve of the business, but real small, and. So we kept the interest in check so we wouldn't get streamed out by that, like businesses can. And and there was actually they had nothing but the vision because there was no sandal. And we just got shafted by the other one. Yeah. So even though everything we were doing, but we somehow was able to, that's what put us in the spot. So then we needed that amount because we wanted the price to make this, keep that low consumer price. Because we said the consumer price is at $29.99, but then we know the dealers need to make 40 points at least, and retail needs to make 50. Like that's just where you're starting. And then even some terms like with PHL. So we went from that price and said, you can't change the consumer price. We came back and said, here's where we're at. And then you and your dad going back to that meeting said, okay, so how can we do it? Remember my comments to you?
I don't know.
I go, the thing is right. I said, I have no fucking clue, but what if we could?
Yeah.
And that's how it started, was we had to figure out how to get that, not starting from our price and going the other way. I think that was another thing that we always talked about is a right way that you always have a good product if you start with a consumer proposition and come backwards. And then if you can't do it, you don't do it. You can't force it.
Yeah.
So we could have been in that position even once we started, but when we realized what I had to do, so then we had to buy 250,000 pairs up front.
Yeah. Big bet.
Not even really, and we're changing between the design because that was already made. So you talk about like throwing yourself in and being crazy and wild, but that was your passion, my belief in it too, and literally insanity of that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not different from when I snapped on Killer. It was just like, this is what we got to do. Fine. You're saying that's how much it is, and we're getting that price. It'll work.
Yeah. And there's so many things that like go into that too, right? Because you have to warehouse them. You have to like distribute them. So it's like deals are happening all over the place. Like Harrow Sports was the original one in Niagara Falls, right? That they would warehouse and pack and ship them, right?
And we try to have them ship us in waves because you can only put like 20 some thousand in a container.
Yeah, yeah. And then figuring out how to customize them too. That was at the beginning of that, like when we started with like actual embroidery and then you're like dealing with how to like get the tiny details for like a 2-inch by 2-inch patch. And
we did some amazing embroidery and it was really cool. People loved it, but that was so hard on some.
So hard, yeah.
Yeah.
And when we launched kind of the customization part of it, we kind of launched that piece with the St. Louis Blues.
Huh. Well, that was to start. That was our first sample we ever sell. So we're now in January at the show. And then we worked out a deal with George Pavlik, who ran a retail there at the St. Louis Blues, to go in their store. And so we had that. And then that was going to be, the playoffs were coming. So it was the first game of the playoffs we ended up. But the thing was, is that we had to air freight it over from Asia, fly it over. They actually did the finished product for us over there. So it came. So we got it. Literally, again, a day before we were driving down in the box. And then we're learning how customs works too. I'm kind of like, well, they're just samples.
Yeah.
Whereas what we'll say, we'll just say they're samples, and you know what I mean? It's just a box of like 100 and some pairs in a box. And we'll just kind of go across and see how it goes. So we do that, and we're driving down, and then we go across a ferry thing because this would be fun to go across here instead of the main bridge.
First we go.
No, ferry was first, right? When we went down to the because this will be. I want to give you experience. Yeah. I said, hey, down here, you go on a ferry, and then you go to Marine City, USA, on the other side. Like, how wild is it? Because you've never even gone to the US at this time. Yeah. So I'm like, I got to show Myles some funny stuff. So we did that, and then so you get off the boat there, and we drive up, and you're literally in 3 cars, and then you have to pull over, and you have to get out of your car and come right in. Remember, we went across the line, and we went to step back to grab something, and it was like almost he came yelling at us, you can't go back to your car. So then we come in and we tell them all the stuff. Yeah, here's what we're doing. We're going to St. Louis. We got these samples. We're taking down this guy. We're going to watch the game. We're playing it down because we just need to get him down there. We also don't know where that works. And then they started making all this big deal. We're like, what's going down? And then they were talking to us separately. But then so we were on the same story. And it was their story. Like, we really didn't know that we were causing a problem. We were like, well, if we knew that, we would have just filed for something or did a different amount that, you know what I mean? However that works. And so they said, well, here's the thing. They said, they were clear to us saying, you two are not being rejected your entry into the U.S. You two are fine. Yeah. But these goods are. Yeah. So your choice is to leave them with us and destroy them and go on, or you can get back on the thing and just go back. So we went back on that thing, and we decided to ship them, and we
overnight FedEx to the hotel.
Yeah, and then we get to the border, and the guy's kind of looking. Obviously, his sister said something like, "What are you guys doing? You got anything with you?" No, just whatever. They checked the car, whatever else. We said, "Yeah, no, we blah blah blah." So obviously they knew we'd just been there, but and I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Have you ever been?" It was amazing because the guy said, "quote unquote, have either of you ever been rejected entry to the United States?" Yeah. No. And literally I said confidently, said, no, I've never been rejected, nor is Myles, this is your first trip. And no, I've never been rejected. Yeah. Because the guy was very specific when he said it to me there. So then they checked her, they did everything, and they let us through. And then sure enough, they showed up, we got them there. And for that game went to 3 overtimes. Yeah, my first playoff game, my only playoff game I've ever been to, triple overtime, and we stayed at that cool hotel in St. Louis, Station, like Station with the big, and went to that cool like sports bar, like for the St. Louis Cardinals. Yeah. Oh yeah, we did it all. I mean, like, and yeah, so and then we served it at that game, and they sell. Like, so our first sales ever were to that. Like, we were just that was just so cool, right? And they were cool. That was the yellow blue lace with their. It was just the best, right? And then we do that. We're on such a high. We have all that fun. And then I showed you that Einstein Bagel Company that makes the jalapeno smear because we're big foodies, right? Yeah. And so then all of a sudden we go and buy like the baker stuff, 13 of them. We get the tub. Yeah. And then all we did on the whole drive home was, because it's basically 14 hours, whatever time. And all we ate was just that jalapeno smear. Yeah, and the windows down, tops off. We're just cranking to it. We're just so pumped, and rightfully so. And that seemed like such a wild story, but it was one of the few. Yeah, for sure. It that was really like the beginning of the whole journey, right? So what is that? Is that 2014? Yeah, 2014, right? April, And then really it's like just brick by brick figuring it out. Like that summer. Month after month after month, and just iterating, improving, and figuring out different, source of sports, dealing with those people. And then that kind of grows, and you get like a test in Pro Hockey Life, and then Pro Hockey Life goes well. And then you're in a major retail accounts. Yep. And we still are And then like the online side of it, this leads us to like agencies in Toronto and stuff. And you remember that one that did the program. Is that the program? One? Yeah. Right. Yeah. That side that did all right. It was interesting at the time, but they just didn't explain it as well as they probably could have. And it seemed a little bit like agency stuff, like just give me what you want. But it's like, you don't know anything. Like you don't know like what to
from it. You're just in a cool Toronto office.
Yeah, we didn't like the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a higher end one. That's the thing, is that we got to the right people at the beginning. We realized some of it's smoke and mirrors for this. And then obviously your strengths in that, we realized you could do a lot of this, like all the things you could be on the front edge of it, and handle it and do better. You know what I mean? And get more value. And you did.
Yeah. But it starts to grow, and it starts to grow quickly, and like momentum is building and it's working.
Yeah, because we were working out of nowhere at that time.
Yeah,
like coffee, like where were we? Even coffee shops?
Yeah,
like,
and even like the
spots?
little office at your house too, with the glass boards that you had in there.
Oh yeah. I forgot. You know what? I forgot that's what we did.
Yeah.
And we had a couple desks in there. We worked out of there, didn't we?
Yeah, we did that for a while. Even when we brought in kind of an outside salesperson, we were doing meetings in your kitchen table, essentially, right at the house.
Right.
But then
that's right.
we continue on, and we get the sickest office on Main Street.
Botsford, that was nice.
Yeah, like obviously things were changing and things were growing, and then it's like, okay, we should get a space now. And then how'd we find that? I don't know. Yeah,
I think we looked at a bunch of things, and then somehow that one came available. I think I might even found that on like just a search thing, rather than anything else, like because you're classically looking at things getting you into like strip areas and that. And then we saw that, and right away saw the hardwood floors and and then so Kim liked it too, who's started to get involved because we took out the big 750 right away for another setup to get rid of that early and simplify it. But so she had some thoughts. But anyways, it was just cool, man. It was so cool. And for a startup, and remember I was shooting pucks with this sauce case from Vinny and had all this space to grow into and stuff. And it was so cool. And the food, right? Like
when we were in there, it was like so empty, and we were just like, it was like a bachelor pad. And then like Tara and Kim, the guy, they're like, let's make this like an actual office.
Yeah, when we started, it's like, it reminds me of Mark Cuban when he's had some episode where he had a house that he had. And he had no furniture in it except for his bedroom and his dining room. And so he had this massive thing, and he just used to go around like kicking soccer balls in this giant house. Like we kind of had that, and it was like we just had the basics, and we just had this cool space. And then the girls definitely got it like so cool.
And really, I guess at that time is when we took customization in-house, right? So we've discovered stalls with that kind of new style of patch where you could get like the craziest detail. You could do the smallest little text, right? Low minimums essentially for them. So go and do a deal with them. And then we went and got the presses so we could then do.
Yeah. So Stalls owns Hottronics, which makes the presses, and then they make all these applications that we got our eyes open to. And then that we could just do it that easily. And then the material was better. So it was cheaper than the embroidery thing outsourced that we were having to do. And then now we could get those things that had a texture to it. So it was that premium permatwill and sublimated onto it. And so if you wash the stuff, it would never fade. And it was just incredible. Jersey, it's the same stuff on Jersey. They do all the sports teams in the world of stuff, like whichever ones they get from the NHL, the NBA, and all that stuff. So it was quality stuff. And you could press a pair with the Hottronics presses in like a minute. You could make a pair. So all of a sudden you go from having to send an order into somebody who has to do it with embroidered things and no detail or challenges with that, to something that's going to produce pretty perfectly onto this. And we would put the order in, and we'd get it like 5 days later or 4. And we could therefore guarantee, like we did, to ship any custom orders in less than 15 business days.
Yeah.
And to this day, now 10 plus years later and over 6,500 custom orders, we've never not shipped in 15 business days. And you think of the industry of all the sports stuff and everything, it's just riddled with that challenge of consistency and predictability and a commitment. You know what I mean? So
that's so cool. When it was like the game changing, when it was like realizing like, okay, the laces are cool, but then the customization, which then started with the embroidery, but then having the ability to do the really high detailed ones really quickly, right? And then it was like you had this customization, but you had this perfect sports sandal that's super comfortable with the laces, which is the perfect canvas for it. Yeah. And then your ability to be able to do custom orders. And then that was kind of like, okay, this is kind of going to a whole other level,
well, it
right?
did flip us, because retail, we had the PHL, we had source doing blanks. And that was, I think, even for like how you pivot, like when I even sold us together on, you already had that side. But the idea of that part was always at retail for the blanks and the laces alone. We expanded the laces, and we were after that and still thought that was going to be good. And then when the customization, then we really realized, holy smokes, this is the point of differentiation. This type of thing would do well for 3 to 5 years, but then it's just the laces. It's how things go. it could be a good run there. But this was the sustainable part, which was a million permutations of SKUs. By putting a logo on there, made every pair. We had this ability to have 6 sizes of sandals, which revolutionizes things for custom, because shirts and hats and stuff, like say fullback ones and stuff, they play in about 6 sizes. And so ours are sandals, extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, double extra large, goes from a 7-year-old, kind of a youth 11 shoe, and that up to the double XL goes up to as much as a size 15, right? So you're getting 90+% of the active sports people, right? So we had all of that kind of.
And the amount of people we could now sell to, right? It's like on the kind of just laces side, it's like, okay, retail accounts, hockey, like you're kind of boxed into that, even though there's lots to sell to. But then when it was opened up, and then it's like every sport team, every brand, right? Anyone that you could think of. And then even from like a distribution of like people to sell to their customers, right? That's what gets us into team dealers.
Because even that, one was us to do it direct or to companies or events. And then to the team dealers, because of how well we priced this stuff in, we could still start with their price point, get their 40 points, which is high end for them. So for them to get a team order and have a great price they could hold, right? Or even take it a little down and still end up at 40 because we'd move with them. That was what we had to do. And we did that. The reason was because we knew instead of the 30 or Under Armours or what they might make or in that, is we knew since we were a different brand, there's selling points. You had to be where it was easy, just hand it to them, they hand it to their customer. Less effort, better margin, no brainer, right? Like in quality, right? And the price point to the end consumer being like under $40, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then it's like,
we knew that was a hit.
The real model kind of reveals itself kind of through that process of it. And then when it like the next step change is kind of breaking into all sports, which really leads us into the US and going to those team dealers and learning that whole world too, because now we knew we had the goods with like the super comfortable sandal that could be customized with low minimums and like quick turnaround time. It was like
we came out flying with the hockey league. We were so hockey laced because that's what it was. And we realized that too, that even with our thing that hockey is only so big. But we also realized, even though we were showing that it's just a cool sandal, so comfortable, everybody knew it. Even ones that loved it, they'd got a pair for their kids' team. And they say, "Oh, my other son plays baseball, but it's not for baseball." Yeah. We're like,
these are sport laces.
When you just tell me that was the most comfortable slide, it has a logo on, that's what you love. That so then we made that smart move to say sport everything laces. In the US, as much as we could, we would say made with real sport laces. And then use, if it was a hockey team, we'd say the hockey to play into it. And that was a small subtlety that is smart, because they were getting hung up on something that didn't matter. It was just a cool canvas to draw on logos.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was kind of fun that we realized that, and then did start to do better in the US with the dealers after that. Once some of them knew because they do hockey stuff, but it definitely changed it even face to face with those ones that push. They go, okay, I get you. You're right.
Yeah, but because then it was also, we had the tracer, which is kind of like a signal that it's like a hockey lace, because hockey laces, but then come out with like the all black sandals. Now it's the perfect like canvas too, right?
That's when we did, after we'd done so much in those other ones, and we still had to hear that quip all the time. Yeah. That's when we said, well, we know the features are so good. Like that's our point to those other people, was that like you just claimed how amazing this thing is from all fronts, and the price point and the value and all that stuff. So then the all black lace just sort of was to allow it to be all sports, and just shut the conversation down. There's no one, so and that's what I think we discovered. I think over time, with what Adrian helped us create, what we ended up with through that side and how things work, is we created like just an unbelievable comfort sandal for the price. Yeah, with a cool canvas that's what I mean, like with the ability for this customization. And it looked cool on its own, like that. Just that texturing looks fun, and then the twill having its own texturing, it just was a marriage that was good. And so that was pretty cool to see that. And then it was the real thing was like, we pivoted even from thinking it was all blanks and then to this, is that now it was really about the equipment, that we had something that worked within the equipment in the industry that you could snap in and make a pair in a minute, where every other solution out there is ordered, right? Yeah. Now we still, to this day, have never let anybody do it. We still do them all, but we still made it that's the possibility, is that, and so it starts with laces. It's funny how business, right? And then you realize what are the other assets that you really have come up with in your life that can be used. Yeah. And that era, like once it feels like everything kind of starts to click and it's all stacked together, right? And then it's just like the amount of pairs
of like custom orders that we were
the bins and
the bins and the
hours,
pressing,
the
amount of hours of pressing those sandals.
There's
and
no
packaging.
capacity. The cool thing what we did, because you can make it in a minute, and the machines aren't that much for the presses.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it is it's totally scalable.
Yeah.
So you're limitless almost, right? Like, but because you can make a pair a minute. But the problem is when you don't have all these employees, and then you do the math on a pair a minute, but you're pumping out in November 10,000 pairs of custom sandals. And now you got like, you're trying to still sell, and then you and I are pressing, and even the girls maybe pressing, and it was just at that time it was like it was just all nighters almost. It was just
but it was
fun.
like, it was so exciting too, because it's like you're trying so hard. It's hard to build and sell something, right? And it's like now it's working too. So like the excitement overpowers the idea of like, oh, I've been pressing for 5 hours, right? And it's 9 o'clock at night, right? But
I think our personalities lead to that. That we liked it. Like I love and getting it right and perfect hit, like the competitive thing that we talked about just in life.
Yeah,
it was. I think you'd agree. There was something there about while you were doing it that you wanted to be able to do it the fastest, the best, and it's childish, but it's that childish kind of passion that probably created what we had. But I still today will love like when it's needed to fire up and or show a new like student. Now we had a lot of student athletes that as we grew, we did that part, which was cool. To allow students, because we knew from sports that people don't have time anymore, but parents want their kids to have an experience working something. Give me 5 hours, something. You can't go work if you're an athlete anymore. And from the age of really, honestly, 11 older, you're year round, maybe 2 sports if you're lucky. Yeah. And so we tapped into that more with the 15 to 18 year olds and knowing people in the community to say, okay, we've got X hours in this week of pressing, because you can always see ahead because of custom. Yeah. So let's say it's 50 hours, right, on a week. And then we'd have 4 or 5 of these kids out there, and they'd be like, oh, well, I can work from 5 p.m. to midnight, say the older ones more in grade 11, grade 12, on Friday night and Saturday night. Great, let's do it. We'll be there for you, right? Yeah. And so, and had a couple presses now, right, and all that stuff. So these kids got to work when they wanted, how they wanted to work, and it was us only paying for work we needed. It was a perfect, cool thing, I think, about what we did, and I think those kids learned from you, learned from me, had a pretty good, all of them have gone on to do some pretty good stuff, right? You know what I mean? I think we had an influence on opening their stuff to the world, and then they could see this business model that was getting stuff from Asia, and then the marketing. And like, if I was a kid, like we even had some interns in from the school, like, it would have just been like, you saw the world in a 3-person organization.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For
like,
sure. Doing a lot,
No, and when people found out about us, right, in the size, and they knew us, and they were like, oh, well, so where do you have, how many employees you got, whatever, well, you're looking at them.
And incredible.
Is that true? Like, how many people didn't believe us?
Yeah, for sure. And as well, too, like, then having kind of like this model built out then allowed us to then go and do an NHLPA license, right? Now it's like this little small company. You have the ability to have 300 NHL player options off a website, right?
But how cool is that one too? So that one goes where I go out and find a person and say, we'll give you 3 of the company because they're connected. You get 3, but I need 2 NHLers to be on our there. And you do whatever with that 3, but you got to get them, right? Because I'm like, this is going to launch like NHL license, all that stuff. So that's what we all agreed to. We'll do that 3. And then but you also made the guy there that says you get whatever's left over.
Yeah.
So go out and get, first person they bring back that we get is Dustin Brown. And this is when they're just winning. Captain America. Right? Come on, like 2 cups in that period, right? And so he comes on for his part of that 3. And they were that motivated to make it reasonable. And then the last one was some good ones that they had to bring on. But then that's where randomly through my interactions with people, I end up meeting Rich Clune, or introduced on that, and Rich had just gotten through his challenges of stuff with being in the NHL and alcohol, other things like
mental
that.
Health.
A lot of mental health challenges. So he was at the brink of real bad situation, like people had to fly down and help him out. So, but then he got through it, and so then all of a sudden I heard his story, and comes from a family that's very much in marketing and other things in Toronto, well regarded to his family and stuff. So. And then I remember calling you and saying, this is the guy we're getting. Like, tatted it up, which is because Rich is just an amazing guy, right? He's just so into it, life and everything. And so he just had this cool persona, cool dude. We loved him. So we said to the other guys, hey, look, we'll put him in on the same deal as Dustin, and then you get the rest. And that's how it happened. And so he was a part of it too. And we said that because that's more like what we said. That's real. He was real. Yeah. Right. Rather than that side. We wanted to be real.
Yeah.
We came from both that side with our families. So it was like, it just made that be like, that's a fighter. That's what this brand is about, is doing good and challenges and getting through them. Right. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then got to connect with like Matt Duchesne when we were in Colorado too.
Well,
and then Brent Burns.
Remember, it's in an ad for CCM and he's wearing our sandals. You pointed that to me. I'm like, oh my God. So then I had a connection to him. So I get a hold of him, only to find out from him that at that time, like we're going back, I guess that's 2015-ish. Yeah. And again, we had met, how we had them though, is because we had met him at the 2014 NHL awards or whatever that was, one of those ones in Vegas. Right. So, long and short is that, when I talked to him, he's like, oh, if I didn't play hockey, I wanted to go into apparel to like make a company like that. That's what his passion was. Like, so he's telling me, I'm like, oh, wow. So he was really into it, knew it, loved the product. He said it again, and that stuff. And then, he's like, yeah, but you're going to have to talk to my agents and stuff. So that's CAA. Now we're talking like Judd Moldover, who was,
I forgot we went to
Matthews,
CAA,
right?
office.
We did go to the CAA office, right? So that's how we get down there. And Judd's like, okay. But you realize once you go from 2 NHL athletes to 3, even if we wanted to do a good deal with you, you can't. Yeah. It now is a part of policy that you have to work with the NHL Players Association and you have to pay a lot more, even if we wanted to. So, or whatever. Actually, I didn't learn it then. He just said, you have to deal with them. So then I ended up calling on a phone call with this Adam Larry that used to be there. He's now with the alumni. Great guy. And I'm on the phone and he's saying, hey, so if you want to add Matt to the list, because it's 3 then here's kind of like probably about $100,000 for him. And then the others, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, geez, thanks for the call. Well, then I guess we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that wasn't going to happen, right? Like, because it's just that minimum, all that stuff. So then so I thought it was done. And he goes, but like we could work out a licensing deal. I go, okay, what's that mean? And then it was a percentage, right? And then and he goes, this percentage of what you pay and a little bit of minimum commitment. And then you get all of the players are eligible for you to make their sandals with their name and number on it. Yeah. I go, okay, so you're telling me I get 700, I get all of them to do it. And it's this much and it's more of a variable than it is that number you just told me. He goes, yeah. I go, am I on some sort of like I'm driving, but I'm like, am I on some sort of, so I'm like, let's do it. And then we did it. And that was cool. And then all of a sudden we're making back of the jersey look with the name and the number on it and at all-star things and giving them to guys and then kids in the, all around in the lobbies and stuff, just loving it. And then, and then we end up Rich Scott, the popular guy in Nashville on that one. Yeah. Right. This is early on. We're hitting it. And then we connect with him and he's this big topic, right? To play in the All-Star, why he got voted in. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're there and you come to me and say, hey, I just heard he's about to go. It's going to be hard to chat him for the day. Yeah. He's about to go do a national television thing live, like a thing that's going to show at 6. This was about 2 in the afternoon. And I'm like, dang, I go and grab a summer skates hat and I go, hey, we've been having, do you mind wearing this? Yeah. Right. And so he wears it and they air it on national television, telling a story. And he's got summer skates hat on. Yeah. And he wasn't on for 30 seconds. It was a 3-minute segment. Yeah. And it was just his head style up here, like anything he was wearing to see. So that was our first, like, oh man, like, but again, like life, you always think those things are going to make you then take off to the moon. We were just, oh my God, we couldn't believe it. Like, we're going to blow up. Our sales went crazy that weekend. Yeah. And beyond and established it. But what we thought, like these things you always learn them. It takes a lot. You got to get like things do pop and people tell you the value they're going to give you if they help you. But it usually is a lot. It sounds good, but it's a lot harder to get the insanity pop that people hear about. And therefore that's what people price their offer to help you out on. Like, but that was still really cool. That was like free. And that was so slick.
I mean, like they've been in Dude Perfect videos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we were not just Dude Perfect videos. We were in Shark Week when he wore them out there. And that one was you gave him to a Callaway guy a year before. And then finally we see him on the show. I'm out coaching baseball. And my daughter comes to the field at Newmarket and she's like going hysterical. I'm out coaching first base and she just can't even contain it. Right. So then I come off. She's like, Dad, you're on Dude Perfect. You're on Dude Perfect or whatever else. And then we see it that he paid nothing and he's wearing them and talking about them. And then and many times. So we had all sorts of clips of that. Yeah. And mistake there was honestly for us, Myles, on that moment or shortly after that, after we saw that, we like we did in other ones. We should have definitely just, because they were accessible. We could have flown down to Dallas, gone to their offices, knocked on the door, got in. I mean, I ended up talking with Chad Coleman, the guy that runs all this stuff now. We almost got on, by the way. Tyler Tony's dad, I actually had conversations with for them to add it to their mix. But by that time, they had already outsourced to an agency that was running it. And it was still a close call because I'm like, and so that almost happened that we would have been, and this is early. Like this is on the front end of it, right? So I like that, again, the product, people genuinely loved what you created and we enhanced and made from what it was. You know what I mean? Like rich people, poor people. We had Warren Buffett's guy that's going to replace him here, Gregory Abel, to run the dominant company of the world here when he steps down. He's a Canadian guy. And he came and ordered 30 pairs of our sandals. And I'm dealing with his secretary. And she needs them, only 2 pairs she needs by like the Tuesday, and it was like a Friday. Yeah. And I went to see if we could ship it. It would get there Tuesday at 10. So I said, okay, we're going to get this done, and we'll ship them. And she's like, well, that's not good enough. He takes off Tuesday morning. So then I look at Teresa, I'm driving him down. She's like, okay, hang on a sec, check some more stuff. She says, well, fine. So I'm about to get in the car to drive these down because this is Gregory Abel. I mean, this is insane, right? Why he wants these 2 now and the other ones can come later, I have no idea. So then I call her back and say, so hang on, what's going on here? Like, is there any way that I just said, well, where's he flying to? Right. And she goes, oh, he's flying to Carmel or whatever, to where Pebble area is. I don't know if he's playing golf or what but that's where he's going to. So I said to her, well, what time will he land? She said, oh, he probably lands he's leaving here at 9 or whatever else. I think he's landing around 10:30 there or 11. And I said, well, I can overnight anywhere in the US, I can get it there by 10 a.m. guaranteed. Right. Or whatever it was. Cause it was now, moved on to the Monday, I think, because I was going to just drive on the Monday down. And I said, so before I leave, and then I was like, well, she's like, yeah, sure. If you want to ship them there. And then as long as he's going to get them. So sure enough, we overnight the 2 pairs. So someone walked at that private airport over to him, handed him 2 pairs of summer skates with Connor McDavid on it for him to use to the guy that's going to,
run the biggest.
Taking over for Buffett. Yeah. And he wants the summer skates, you know what I mean? And the rest we shipped to Edmonton where his family was that he wanted to give them out to him because he's a big hockey guy. So if anybody looks that up. But we have so many of those stories.
There's so many stories like, and
fun.
Lots of my favorite times is, because you're always going to like these random US cities that you would never go to for like a trip, right? Yeah. And get to experience the whole.
And I'd always look up sporting events and good restaurants for you.
Yeah.
Because I had to show you.
Well, it works. Those are like my core memories from all those trips, like Savannah, Georgia, and like
going on a riverboat.
Yeah, we went on a riverboat.
A riverboat casino.
Yes,
out in the middle of the ocean. And back.
Yes, where you could smoke on the boat. Yeah. It's like I'm like where
dance. Remember the dancing and these people on the boat were not. We're like there was a wide range on that thing. And it turned in on the drive back in. Was there? They turned it into a dance.
I'd actually rented a Mustang convertible on that trip. So
I did that too. That was our other part. We always rented sweet cars to have fun.
And like going to Minneapolis for the Let's Play Hockey Expo, like
multiple years. Yeah.
When the first one we went there, we didn't know anything.
We didn't
right?
make product. Remember, we just set up the booth. Or we had just our samples.
Yeah. So, but it's a pure consumer show. And then the next year or the year after, we go down with the press. We get a press from someone someone
gives us. Not only we get a press from that person, that's what I start with. All of a sudden we get there and they give us 1,500 free shirts with like the cool tournament thing that they made because they were supposed to be there and they couldn't, but they wanted their brand there.
Yeah. And
so now we're customizing pairs and we're giving away a free shirt because some value there. But we do $25 a pair for wear your number.
Yeah. And the line is,
and we got one press, you're there, and then it's 2 days. We have, I guess that would be max of 20 hours of selling period. Right. And we proceed at $25 an hour or $25 a pair. We proceed with just the 2 of us to do over 500 pairs of sandals customized.
Yeah.
We have, remember the cash is something like about $13,000
And you're like, how am I going to get this home?
How are we getting home? What are we doing? So then we knew that it was over 10 grand that you're not allowed. So then we're like, oh no, like what problem do we have here? And we were at the show, everybody couldn't believe like this is insanity. Who are these? And then so what we did is we bought a box for everybody.
Yes.
Right. For all of our guys that are cool in the industry. That's one thing. We made great brand partners with everybody, would help anybody with anything we could, vice versa. And so that's what our thing was to do is
for the high school hockey championship, which at where the
XL
Minnesota Wild play, there's so many people standing room, like standing
Nobody
room.
even understands
Yeah,
this, right?
like it's insane.
So if you're a sports fan, hockey or not,
yeah,
the greatest spectacle in my life after being at many sporting events of all kinds and loving that and all that, there's still nothing better than that, dude. Like because you can imagine they're 16-year-olds and you're a competitive athlete that played hockey, but other sports too. And then they're on that ice at the XL Center playing all these rounds and it's sold out. 20,000 people.
Yeah.
They got their band playing.
Yeah.
They got all the signs, their school's there, but then all the alumni's there. And they're playing for their championship for the state in the 2 levels, right? They have the 2 levels. I mean, to this day, I'm telling you, anybody who never does that, like find a way to get there to that, and guaranteed it's the best sporting event for what it's worth, and that you can understand it. A pro you can't understand because you can't get there.
Yeah.
But you could be on your high school hockey team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could be there. You've been in that, like, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know.
Yeah, insane. Absolutely insane. So many stories like that over the years, and so much figuring it out. Like, you know,
I was thinking like Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So we go to Oklahoma, right?
Baker Mayfield before he was Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, but even before that. So first night we're just there and we're eating at that bar, and my thing was always on StubHub, what's around? And so then we got the biggest bleeder seats because Oklahoma to play basketball.
Oh, yes. And
Yeah. So we watched the Thunder, right? And at that time they probably had Durant or whatever. I gotta think they were good. It was good. And so we did that the first night. And then lo and behold, as we're going along and we're in the cusp of our stuff, I realized, hang on a sec, Oklahoma on Saturday. So now this was Saturday night game.
Yeah.
Because we were doing Friday and Saturday. Yeah, we did Friday show and Saturday. So we were there Thursday. And so I think we went to the game Thursday for basketball. And then this was the Saturday, and we had to shut down our booth early because I ended up getting us tickets to Oklahoma versus TCU, 5 versus 6, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
We're in the end zone with all the fans, great seats. And like paid up. I gotta give this to you, Myles. You've never been to a college game, and you had to be freaked out. We gotta go to Walmart to get like.
Yeah, I still got my hat. I still got my camo Oklahoma.
So we dressed head to toe Oklahoma. We tailgated, and then you get in there, and then that game was an awesome game, like insanity.
Yeah.
2 top teams, right? And Baker and OU won, right? If I recall, right?
Yeah.
So we just had the best thing, and then. Each city was always Vegas. Our Vegas trips probably had 6 or 7, at least maybe for those. Each of those has its own.
Nashville for the All-Star.
Yeah.
That was a fun one too. It's so funny, like seeing like young NHL players, just like seeing like NHL players in where normal people wouldn't see like interactive stuff,
like,
right?
Like going out and stuff. And then that's how you get to like also know who's real and who's not real. That's what we said about getting rich. And that's the thing you can't tell until you go in those environments. So we definitely saw some examples that we were shocked that are out there in the media that play one way and aren't that way.
Yeah.
And then others that you would think might be different and they're really, really cool. So that was a lesson. That was even for me. That was like, I mean, I see the corporate side of it, but then when you got to the pro side of it that close and they knew who you were because you were in the gifting suite, so you got to meet a lot of them. And that's how obviously Brett Burns, real Rich Clune, kind of same thing. Like it became a brand friend for forever.
Yeah.
Like could dial him, call him up.
Yeah.
You know, he sent messages to that one kid in Minnesota that had survived cancer.
Yeah.
And he ends up doing a video for him and says, why, you're the toughest kid I've ever met. And my summer skates buddies told me about your story. And you're a big fan of mine. And he gives this kid this gift. And then that kid proceeds to not go to school for 3 days and goes around his small town and just shows this video. And the whole time he was in his cancer for 6 months at the hospital because it was really close to, all he did is wore his Brett Burns jersey every day. That's the story we got told. And I said, well, maybe I can do something about this. Right to the dad, said, don't tell him. But and then sure enough, I think I reached out to Brett in March. And it wasn't until May when they bounced out of the playoffs that I suddenly get a ding. Yeah. So I think it's not going to happen. And then it's, hey, don't share the email. Here, use this, pass this on. You know what I mean? Like don't forward my email. And it was that kind of gift that how amazing a person is that. And I think people have seen that. That was on point for us because I was like, man, that's rock solid. And he's from Barrie. Yeah. Right? Like his roots, and his mom worked, maybe still, but worked at Costco in the portrait thing. I find out my sister does like photography, like, like it was just like so genuinely cool. You know what I mean? But
so many stories, memories, like great people that you meet, not so great people that you
meet, and beauties and that too, right? Like it's just amazing Watch for the narcissist.
Yeah.
It's the only one. It's the biggest one that even good professional, smart people, stuff like that. I think the one is the narcissist when it comes to sales and marketing and that stuff that you think can help you out or grow something and bring the passion of a brand. And I think our other one would obviously be, which we haven't got, like thing about supply chain and just the criminal people out there that try to make stuff for you and say they're going to do something that you don't get because you're not right there. You're not in Canada. You're not in, that whole foreign side is a whole ball of wax, right? When sourcing, those are the two real tough ones.
Yeah.
You can't, it's tough to defend against that.
Yeah, for
People
sure.
always say afterwards in hindsight, "Oh, you should have known."
Yeah, of course.
What do you mean? This fit like a glove. This looked like it was perfect.
Yeah, you only learn that through experience. You get the battle scars and start to get like that pattern recognition of I've seen this before too. And
it hurts though.
Yeah,
they all hurt.
It always hurts. Yeah,
You've had it on many of your ones.
Oh yeah, I've had a few for sure. Yeah. And journey continues on though, and obviously go through COVID times too, battle through that, business change.
That one for us and even for you and that stuff is like, it was kind of a weird thing because COVID hit, right? And then it's just like, nobody knows what's going to go on. We're still at the other place at that time. We're about to move somewhere else. You're like, this might be done. Like, this might be just like a submarine thing, right? And at the same time, you've been doing this, but you've also got a bunch of other things that you got on the go that you're working on the side outside of the days that we're here, even though we're busy too, and you're doing stuff. So you got this bug, right? You kept creeping up to get more, but you needed more too, right? Like, so we kind of, it was at that weird inflection point of stuff, and then that happened. So then it's kind of like, well, what do you do? And then it was like, there's going to be no revenue for a while, and all that stuff. So then it was kind of one of those weird ones, I guess. A lot of people could think about it different ways, but it was one where it was like look after you, do it right for whatever that means in Canada stuff, right? But I knew that, so it was like whatever makes sense to do. And then you had been able to sell some over time to it at what would be the best valuations, even where we're at today.
Sure.
So that part, you know what I mean? But in the end, it was like, dude, let's use this as your opportunity to kind of set free, get you some more jack to help with those because you need money for those two things, right? And I
was heading towards that path regardless. It's kind of just sped it up into that time frame.
Because we were doing awesome on where you still had the passion probably on that, where you had the other stuff, but you had to still have a time crunch. There's only so much time to go after those things too. And you already been on Dragon's Den for the big ball by this time too, while we were doing our stuff, right? So you already had, it wasn't like it was just ideas, right? So this kind of worked out in the way of it, not like we planned in any sort of way or wanted, but it was like, okay, in the best case, worst, like the best alternative to negotiate an agreement was this batting the thing back at him. But we were like, this is the best way to try to maximize it out for sort of surviving it, and then for like it's having to hunker down in that analogy and then go forward for you. And honestly, again, everything has for a reason with that is we got through it. We've thrived off the back of that. We're sitting here in a podcast thing where you've got your one still rolling, right? Good challenges. I think you've documented on this, but still killing it. Really cool. And then you've got this developing and pivoted so many ways. And we're sitting in here, but you're awesome. Like what you've got is digs here and everything you've done is unbelievable. So you continue to do the things and that doesn't happen. At least it'd be different for sure, but it fed in. It's everything created what it is, and you would not have been in this business. No. I don't think this way.
Yeah, no. It's like it goes back to like even talking about your story. Like everything happens for a reason, and like you're just kind of following the intuition in front of. And then,
but that sucked. I mean, at the end of the day, we had such the amount of what we accomplished and what we did, and how fun it was in the heart of it, and how much effort we put in the things that we did. Yeah, it's insanity what was done with two. Again, when we told people, two people, all these avenues of connections, people that we have in our investment team, all those dynamics that were done, Molson's, like we felt bad, we create the koozie. And then we end up with like a $50,000 order in our first year for the koozies that they go in Ontario. Yeah. And we lost out in a final decision, like 3-2 or 2, whatever it was, to do 1 million units in case. Instead, we lose to these fake rings that were like that. You know what I mean? Like we were that close to out of the gate a massive profit. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like all these things are just the stories at times, but we had fun. Man. And we're creative as all get out. did different things. So that's when that change happened.
Yeah.
That was the right thing for the time. It was the right thing in the inside because time you can't go for forever.
Yeah.
And it just we've been through 5 years almost, and it was like it kind of played itself out that it just it's kind of like now. I mean, this is the next 5-1 where you come off that you have ideas, and now we're at now. As you know, some ideas with the business because of as we talk about the different assets we really have. Things that we would only make it ourselves all the time now if you open your mind to that in the US because it's a different thing. The thing that we had talked about even when you're like we chat all the time anyways, stuff is that, for a couple of years we've been talking about the better model that would be way better and easier. And so with Trump's stuff of doing that to Summerskates, just like COVID, right? And we had to make some adjustments for your side on this stuff. And then now where I'm at now, it's like, some ways, thank you, because we got good support we always had behind us. And now to just be a real honest assessment of this you could do, but it's going to be, again, time. So if I'm 50, still 50, trying to get to 51 if I can. But like, it's not to keep that energy and do the model we're doing. And this other model would be way smarter. And then one that can extend with that reality, right? Of a small organization than what you want to do. So that's part that there's no choice now really to me. So him doing that is something that made it that others around that might want to have thoughts like, or have to come like, that's the best alternative. So then it just saves some of that challenge of sometimes making others that can be involved see something that you see. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean?
It's just it's in this point now where a pivot will happen, a change will happen, adjustment. It's like the core of it is built, right? Of like, what it is, how it's done, what is executed, right? That's all there. Plus, like the case study of the hundreds of thousands of pairs that people absolutely love.
All sorts of fields, from companies to events to every team.
Right, and then now it's in this position for whatever the next chapter of Summerskates looks like, which you'll figure it out.
Well, the thing is, I think for everybody, I mean, so many businesses that were Canadian businesses that had a product, obviously would start in Canada if they're truly this entrepreneurial side, not like one with like 34 employees, probably like that. But if you're a startup, you start here with all the technologies that are available and the free trade that existed essentially everywhere, except if maybe overseas you have to pay a little bit, but still wasn't that bad. Yeah. So everybody starts here in Canada, gets their base, and then they've definitely got more than a lot of their business outside of Canada because it's bigger and they like to consume, especially the US. So many companies have got so hammered by this that sell consumer related products that are under that $100 type of thing. Yeah. Even Lululemon even commented about it a bit and so big companies can change their model, but for little ones, you really can't, right? But in our situation, we're fortunate to have the right people around it so we could take a little wait and hold and see and look. So yeah, that's what it'll be. And that's what we're going to need to do is this idea there I know is real good, but you also got to look at it and say, how good is it and how long and does it make sense? Or do you have to, even though that's possible, this is almost like taking that job, but then is that what you should do? Just because you can do it. Yeah. And that's even in product sometimes. Someone will remember, like this is a perfect example. They call up and say, well, can you put a logo on one side and a number on the other? Because you do wear your number and we'd say, yes, we can. They're like, great. And we say, but we're not going to do that. And they're like, what do you mean you're not going to do it? Because we were pumping out so many and had that efficiency of how custom ones go and you place them on with an order sheet and people pump them. But we knew the number ones take 4 times as long, right? And a different temperature and process. And that you kind of go, now you're going to have to match up this one switching presses, match up left or right. So people don't get it. They still don't understand that that would take so long. And we're going to pay somebody, we're going to slow down so much. We have to get out those 10,000 pairs in November. Yeah. So we learned, I think that one to get together or for you, maybe on that too, from mine, it was tough, but it was like, the best thing in business is when you say no, not because how many times we said we can do that, but we're not going to do that, right? You know what I mean? We could send the sandals to you and you could press them. We're not going to do that because you're going to put something on there that's not good. And when you do, it might come off. But on social media, even if it's a good post, it's going to look like a sticker and shiny and awful. Yeah. We're like, no, this is a combination deal. We have to be 100% sure while we build the brand. It's got to be that stuff. You know what I mean? So that's interesting stuff in business. You got to sometimes. Lots of lessons learned. Like just. You only do it through experience, right? And figuring it out. And I am excited to see where Summerskates goes and what the direction is. I'm sure it will land in whatever's supposed to happen will happen of it, right? What, as you think back,
life, career, from all the way to Weber's, the corporate world to your own ventures, right? What's a lesson or some lessons that are a thread through all of it that you've learned through this journey?
Yeah, for sure. There's let's talk the passion one, or the ones that you have your own sayings, but the idea, if you believe, you will receive. You know what I mean? Like it's believe. Like think about the stuff that you've done, and even to do what we did to get the money and convince people, and then 250,000 pairs. Like you have to believe. So if we did it piecemeal, one container, we would have not got anywhere near where we did with it, right? So I think that's a big thing but you can't be insane. So the thing is, you have to have that belief, and you have to put yourself into it. I don't think anybody's starting a business and saying, I'm going to do this and sell this one to get the next one, and then grow with that through your working capital of keep reinvesting. It's just not going to work. It's going to be too hard. You have to be able, if you can't sell someone else, to put some money into your thing, even at the beginning, to get that amount so that you at least have not just the order. So most people do that where they'll get it for the order because they want to get their idea going, but that's not enough, and it's going to cause too many challenges. So I think my biggest lesson, I think for one part, if you're going to do this sole entrepreneur thing, you come up with a great idea of something you're going to do, and you're not having people, you're going to build with people around you and what you're going to do. Whatever those models are that you're selling to people for the first investors in or whatever, I think you need to sell the first 3 years of that, right? And say, here's what I think the profit's gonna be, here's the cash flow and all that stuff. And then you say, okay, that's what I believe. Don't you look how good this is, and do you like it? You start there and you get them there and say, okay, great. But what I'm gonna raise then is I'm gonna take this down and cut that back by 80% and say, here's the cash flow and here's what I need to pay everybody to get to that point, that you have to be funded for 3 years. And if it's not good enough to get that from somebody, wherever it is, then your idea is not good enough. Mm-hmm. There's still I shouldn't say that. Your idea could be good. The probability is so great that it won't be based on history, that it's not worth you doing it, even though there are ones that would do it by one from the garage, and it's a dream thing. My thing is, it's just not sane. It's not sensible. You're better off to truly see, there's enough people out there. If it's so good, it's got to be good at the beginning, and you got to get that. So that would be the number one, dude. That's what saved us on that stuff too. And then we still had to find different people along the way as well. But it'll just save you. It's so hard, right? And the other one, so that was that if that's side. Yeah. The big thing I'd say is this, is if you go out, one is to start right away as an entrepreneur like you did your whole life. And that's unique too, and that's awesome. And your will is going to lead to that success of that being your whole life. But again, rare. So if you're not that, but you have an itch and you're in business, is go out and do kind of like I did if you can. If you get on fast track and see all these things in a big company so you get it, right, and learn a lot of lessons, is then when I came out off of that drive to go do that, raising money without the sandal in hand and the amount we did and their interest rate and all that stuff, the point wasn't that amount. I had the street credibility and the stuff that I'd done, the things I'd seen, and what we could do with it, and painting all the right things from the consumer all the way through every element we had it nailed of why this could be good. Is I really should have put my efforts towards finding a $10 to $20 million business where someone wanted to sell. And I had an idea that could use their tooling, their equipment, or their people. That was different from what that business did, but it was good. But it's somebody wanting to get out because of age. So it's not the business was bad, or there's a slight challenge they didn't like, right? Is to go find that. And then that would take, let's say it was a $20 million business. Let's say it would take $10 million borrowing from some facet, equity, debt, different things or whatever. And you're buying it at half revenue because the guy wants out or whatever it is. It would have been the same as going to get my 750. But the difference on that is why you need to do that if you're an entrepreneur is because when you buy that company, it's that size, 20 million. There's whatever, 300-400 employees. I don't know, right? 200, whatever. There's a couple people at the top, right? And maybe the two that started are up there. And they're having jobs that they're probably at that paying themselves now about $500,000 a year. They have their equity, but they're probably juicing themselves pretty good, right? Or at the end, maybe even more, right? So now when you buy that company at a fair price, right? And you get that and you get the lending because you're strong and they know what you're going to do. You're saying, I'm going to value this company fair. I'm not going to challenge so much to 10 million. Maybe I'll put a bit of it on an earn out. So I'll give you 8. You want a 10. I don't agree. I like 8, but I'll give you a 2 million earn out if we hit these bigger numbers, because why would I pay it? So you do that kind of deal. And then you go out and you raise it. But now when you do that, you now have you're now paid. You're taking over those other people's spots. So the comfortable business is already running well with a profit margin that you paid off a fair price. The world lets you know if you find a good business and you have an idea to bring in your own idea that's going to take it from 20 to 25 million. Everybody can see that. It's established that all the things are there. You hit the ground running. And so you've increased value because you bought it at a bit of a deal. They went out, and so you see what I mean. You do that stuff, but your job now for you and let's say it was you and I as partners, that we both are making the big stuff already, and it's not like it's hurting the business.
Yeah.
And then we bring these other ideas and change the mindset around there with not just that new one, but maybe some strategic thinking. All of a sudden, before you know it, you got yourself a $40 million business, and it's easy. You're selling that, and you didn't have to do the stuff like we didn't pay ourselves when we started. Yeah. We, even the COVID thing was around money, right? Like, you know what I mean? Even though we had done awesome, when it's great when the tap shuts off, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So
for sure. Like a business that you can then innovate in and optimize to, right? For growth, rather than start it from scratch.
You should always have it, even when you do that type of business, I gave you an idea, you could just get it because you can get it for cheap. But I think what you want to do is have passion. So you got to get something like that for a good value. And I think there's gonna be a lot of opportunity with how much the world's gonna change, that there's gonna be a lot of people with good businesses that are older that want out. But so you get a good value, but you have this other idea. That's where your excitement really comes, because you're not paying for that. And you're getting to jump that right away. And you have people, resources, capital, all these points of business that you sell to or whatever. So you are just like, let's go. And they don't know about it. So and your bank does, or whoever your partners are, saying this is what we're gonna do. And then this guy over here that's been run for 20, 25 years by these people at the whatever, and you're younger coming in, you're going to be like, hey, you assess that, and you know, if it's a 20 million, you feel like you got $1 million to $2 million that you will squeeze out of the smarter operational side of that business. Well, that's for what you're paying as a fare of where theirs is at. Those would multiply that right away on the value of what, if you did this good with your 5 on the 20, and you get this and you grow it on that, your sell to a VC is going to be, if you got it at 10, I mean, once you get that type of business going, then you're back up to, and you're successful and you're moving, you're going to get one-time sales. Where it's not perfect science because there's a sales margin. But let's just say that now you're getting a $40 million price off your 10. That's pretty good. And you probably can do that in 3 years.
3 years,
Isn't that wild? That's the code. But you have to build up that
all the skills and experience and everything.
That one, right? So,
Okay. I love it. Thank you so much.
But you're going to give up your life a bit. That's the other thing on this, is that you better have a wife or a life. You have to understand it. Like, you're already crazy to do these things where it's easier just to get a paycheck every week. But you got to understand that that's the risk. You better have that kind of dialed in. It's the most important thing. I think it akin to an athlete. You hear that they say it's true that their family or their wife, when they are able to make that work, is amazing. That person is amazing on the other side, because it's just crazy and it's hard, right? Any of those scenarios we talked about. So that's the gift, is the control and the freedom to make your own decisions and live that life, to coach or to do this or be where you need to be when you want to. But then there's definitely the other side, that it's not just you. Right? Like it's the wild child side of it. So get lots of support financially, depth, right? And if you can't, don't risk it. 2 is then watch your family members, wife and beyond, right? And that stuff. And then use those advantages and make sure, because of your freedom, you don't have the boss above you, you're controlling it, to make sure that you just don't get lost in the obsession. Right? You know what I'm saying?
All right, man.
Knuckles, man, you're the man. You know it.
Love you.
Yeah, you too, kid. Love you, man. Good times.